Amos, you're going to talk to us about extinctions, right? Mass die-offs.
Mass die-offs. Yeah, actually, I was going to do a story about these uh, uh, prey birds that were dying off in Oregon,
The eagles, right?
getting paralyzed. Yeah, they were just all of a sudden they would just become limp, and people would you could carry them, and their head would like fall to the side, and they would just not be able to do anything. And die as a result. They were trying to save some of those. And then John, you told me, well, why don't we do something about mass die-offs? And I looked into it, and I got hit over the head with that just the extent of that problem. I wasn't even aware. I knew about some of those die-offs. I've heard news here and there, but then I found currently there's a list that's being compiled by the End of Days Prophecy site, which is kind of like a Christian site, and they see the destruction of the planet as the the manifestation of the prophecy.
Yeah, I would too if I were a Christian. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, but they did a great job of keeping track of all these documented die-offs. And in 2019, there's been like so far till now, there's been 231 mass die-offs.
Jesus.
And I compiled a list. I put the list of that on my site. There's going to be a link in the description.
Okay.
And some of these things are just astounding, and we have not heard from them. 3 million pigs were killed in end of June from swine fever in 16 provinces in Vietnam. Tons, many dozens of tons of fish being washed off different places. There's been bee die-offs. There's been all kinds of stuff. So just the sheer volume of that just like dumbfounded me and really depressed me. So just as an example, here's like I wanted to just pick up one of those examples, and that's the bee die-off. So in Brazil this year, about 400 million bees were recorded to have died in a span of 3 months. Entire colonies of these bees were wiped off. And they did some research. They found that they're using cocktails of pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides with hundreds of ingredients. Nobody can track or figure out which is responsible for what, or what the correlation is. Apparently, the fungicide by itself does not harm the bees so much as when it's combined with some of the other ingredients. And it's affected those colonies in two ways. Some of them are just like die off very rapidly. In 24 to 48 hours, entire colonies gone. And in some cases, there's this lethargic state that the bees get into from these, apparently from these fungicides. They just stop working, and then the colony collapses out of starvation. So that's in Brazil. In the U.S., the researchers of the University of Maryland have reported that about 40% of U.S. honeybee colonies died between October 2018 and April 2019. So recently, wow. It's the highest winter die-off that's recorded in 18 years. So, and this thing is happening at a very high rate all over the world. I looked at the number of documented events that took place. So in 2011, 142 such mass-offs were reported in the media. In 2012, it went up to 474. 213, went up to 820. 2014, 651, 215, 837, and 2016, like 560, 2017, 450. It went a little down. 2018, it went to 294. And if this year, if the projection is right, we're going to probably reach around 460 or so mass die-offs, and that's frightening because these are cataclysmic events like the fox bat die-off from the heat, or in Australia that recently happened, or puffins in the North Sea dying of starvation because they are not able. The water in the Bering passages has warmed up to the point where it's affecting their feed. So they don't have enough food. They have to spend much more energy in hunting, and they just exhaust themselves and just die. So very, very disturbing.
It is, and you know, it's not like we don't have mass die-offs that we know they happen, right? We know that they happen in nature all the time, but when they're being caused by the climate crisis, when we're the ones who's bringing them about, and that's what we're seeing more and more, right? And that's what's frightening. I mean, the whales. What is the number of whales that have washed up on the shore full of plastic? That's not a die-off. That's a canary in a coal mine, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
the problem is also that it's a complicated relation between all kinds of various factors. It's not just global warming or just one thing or chemical. It's like an onslaught of all of these different things that we've just completely neglected and not taken seriously up till now, that are now like getting to this critical state.
exactly.
And the media, we hear those news every now and then. Even I haven't heard a lot of these on that list. I encourage you to look at that list. But what do you hear? You open CNN and you hear how many times Trump washes his hands in a day, and whether Meghan Markle is holding her baby right.
Right. They don't talk about anything actually going on that matters.
And it's not like there's lacking news.
No, you could have a whole
Obviously.
channel dedicated to the climate crisis, and we should.
Yeah.
Just talking about what's going on with our planet. We should have one of those. So, all right. Yeah, that's depressing news. Thank you so much for reporting on that, Amish. Really appreciate that.